Do this every time you get paid. This is a video by Vincent Chan that my marketing director sent to me to react to. And I've actually never seen Vincent Chan before. I don't know who he is or what he does or what the point of this paycheck routine is, but I'm guessing it's so that you can build wealth. So let's check it out. And I will give you my honest and unfiltered reaction as somebody who has been mentoring entrepreneurs on their finances and creating financial freedom for over 20 years now. So I'm going to tap the like button because that always helps with the YouTube algorithm. Hint, hint, tap the like button on this video and let's dive in.
Friday just got paid. New shoes, new restaurant, movies, and it's gone. When it comes to payday, it's hard to know the best things to do with your money. So today, I'm going through step by step the 8 things you need to do with your money as soon as you get paid.
Okay, well, already I like his video editing. I'm very impressed. You know, based on the resources that I have with this channel, this is like as good a job as I can do with the editing based on the resources that we have. But this with like the quick cuts and the B-roll and the cuteness, like I like it. So I like him so far, and he has 871 subscribers at this point. So clearly he's doing something right. Let's see if he knows as much about money as he does about making YouTube videos.
Important thing you need to do is find your financial baseline. When it comes to personal finance, most people feel like it's too much work, but that's why most people struggle. 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck because they commit one of the worst financial mistakes. In psychology, they call it mental accounting. Basically, it's when
Okay, so again, video editing note, I love all this B-roll that he's shooting of himself. It's like, it's so good. I want to do more of this. But I do think that there's something here because you work so hard for your money. You know, whether you're at a job or running your own business, like a ton of time goes into making money. And that is like life force energy and time that you are never getting back. And I think the key to creating wealth and financial freedom and more ease and peace and freedom around money is to not just always be working hard for money, but to get your money working for you and looking at your numbers, knowing your numbers, doing some of the stuff that he's probably going to talk about. Like that's the key. Those are the high leverage activities that are going to get you more and more freedom. So if you imagine that every dollar or euro or yen is like a member of your team, right? It's like you Inc. and here's your money and they're all team members, right? You don't want to just let them all hang out by the water cooler doing nothing. You want to deploy them and give them a job and make sure they're doing that job correctly and check in and see how they're doing. And yes, that takes a little bit of time, just like with any good team member. But that is time really well spent because then you're getting your money working hard for you. And ultimately, especially over time, your money can work so much harder for you than you can work for it. So yes, worth paying attention to.
It's when you mentally categorize your money instead of physically writing it down. In May, you might receive a tax refund from the IRS, and you mentally categorize this as extra fun money. You get excited and start spending it. A new PS5, a new TV, or Mr. Magic Lamp. The problem is, this money is the same as your regular income. You just pay too much in taxes, and the IRS is just returning it.
I agree. You know, my husband loves getting a tax refund, and to me, I don't like it because it means that I just gave the government an interest-free loan. So I always aim to like pay a little bit because that means that, you know, I didn't do that I've been like deploying my money successfully. And then it shows up and it's like, yay, free money. And I'm like, it's not free money. That's your money that you're just getting back. So I agree. You want to account for that in your overall cash flow plan and not just be like, woohoo, party time. Let me go buy some stuff. Otherwise, like if you want to save up to buy a big thing, then just do that. You don't have to like pay the IRS extra to do that accounting for you. You can just set up a separate account, have, you know, $100 a month, $500 a month, like going to it. And then once a year, you can like spend it on your big thing. You don't need to overpay the IRS to do that. And in the meantime, you can actually earn some interest on that money.
The good news is the solution is simple. Open up a spreadsheet and take account of all your monthly expenses. Rent, internet, pineapple pizza, floss. So putting all
I love these examples of your monthly expenses. Pineapple pizza, floss. My mom would like strongly disagree on the pineapple pizza, but that is my favorite, back when I ate carbs, but that's hilarious. And I think that he probably lost a lot of people as soon as he said whip out a spreadsheet. You can also, there's tools like Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar, like Monarch Money, that'll like help track and figure that out for you. So if you're not a spreadsheet wizard, just know that there are other ways to accomplish the same thing. But yes, I do think you want to actually look at your real numbers and not practice mental accounting. This is something I see a lot on Robert Irvine and the Kitchen Nightmares, where is it Kitchen Nightmares? He goes in to help these restaurants that are struggling and they're about to go under. And so often he's like, what are your food costs? What was your revenue? And people are like, I don't know. It's like, this is a business. So even if you have a job and you don't run your own business, you still have like your personal finance business, like You Inc., like I mentioned. And so I think that there's so much power in knowing your numbers. So I'm liking this so far.
Putting all this together in a Google Sheet was a great way for me to discover how much I needed to survive every month with my current lifestyle. I'm self-employed, so my income varies widely, and this is just a great number to know. All right, now for the real work. Delete the expense items that aren't your core essentials. Yeah, that means Netflix, staplers, your Candy Crush subscription, and then sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Rethinkable, to build a wealthier and healthier life, link below. After a grueling self-reflection moment, you should end up with just a few core expenses.
Oh yeah, he's cracking me. I like this guy. He's funny. He's funny. And I think it's good to bring humor and levity to finance, because it's an area that feels so heavy to some people, and people have shame and they feel like everybody else has this money stuff figured out. They should have it figured out too. In fact, my marketing director, who wanted me to react to this video, he says shame stands for should have already mastered everything. And the truth is, like, almost nobody has their money stuff together, which is why, we're watching these videos. So it's great that more and more of this financial education is becoming available. And I do think it helps to bring levity and humor and lightness and fun to a topic that feels heavy for so many people.
Expenses. First, housing, which could be rent or mortgage. Generally, you want this to be under 30% of your income. Second, groceries and food, about 10% of your income. Third, insurance and utilities like internet, cell phone, and electricity, about 10%. This number now becomes your financial baseline.
Okay, I like the idea of knowing, like, what are the basic essentials, like what do I need to live, like make sure the basic human needs are covered. And I like that he gives specific target allocation percentages to shoot for. I think that depending on your situation, that might be different, but I like that he gives you a target. That's cool. I like the specificity. I did I reacted to a Robert Kiyosaki video recently, and one of my biggest issues with Robert Kiyosaki is that he just he's good on like these big concepts, but like he just does not provide the details, and I like that he's giving you some details.
Financial baseline, the absolute bare minimum you need to survive each month. Aim to keep your financial baseline under 50% of your total income.
That's a cool tip too. So like if you can keep your basic survival under 50% of your income, yeah, I like that as a goal. That makes a lot of sense, because then it gives you some room to save and invest and have fun and do other things. So I think these target percentages are cool. It gives you a place to start at least.
If it's over, look for expenses that you can easily swap for cheaper ones. Do you really need that apartment with an indoor pool, a phone plan that has satellite coverage, or free-range organic pasture-raised avocados? Knowing your financial baseline builds the foundation for the next step. What would it feel like to have saved up to 6 months worth of expenses in your bank account at all times? Imagine the kind of freedom and peace of mind you'd have knowing that if you ever got sick, lost your job, or get injured, you'd be completely fine.
Again, the B-roll is amazing. Like, I wonder how long he spent shooting all these little shots. It's so good and it's so visually entertaining. Like, he's my new role model for YouTube videos. I'm gonna like shoot a whole bunch of B-roll next. So that's really great. And I will say, like, it is life-changing having some cash reserves, and it's something that a lot of people never get to experience. And I think that something that was very helpful for me was the Dave Ramsey idea of starting with $1,000 emergency reserve fund, or he calls it like $1,000 like starter emergency fund. He calls it an emergency fund. I call it a reserve fund because I don't want to like attract emergencies. But even that first $1,000, what helped me was that felt so attainable. When I was like rebuilding after the real estate crash and, kind of living hand to mouth, $1,000 is like, okay, I can see that I could do that. But when it was like 3 to 6 months of living expenses, I was just like, kill me now. Like, I'm never going to get there. So I think that chunking it down and starting smaller, be like, okay, let's start with $1,000. Depending on your situation, maybe you start with $500. But even that can be life-changing because you can increase your insurance deductibles, you can handle little things. It's ultimately not enough, but it's a really great start. And then building from there and like, okay, I'm going to work up to 1 month and 2 months and, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say that I'm at a point in my life now where there's this experience, this sensation, this feeling of what I call escape velocity. And I don't even know if I'm using this term properly, but I think of a rocket ship using most of its fuel to get off the ground and out of the atmosphere. And then it's like, there's this weightlessness, right? It used all this energy to like drive up, and now it's floating. And so now I have this feeling of like floating financially, and it's like spacious and peaceful and free, and there's not like, oh my God, how am I gonna make payroll? So like that feeling I want for everybody, and I think that having a reserve fund like that can give you a huge sense of stability and space and freedom, and that's a beautiful thing. So I agree with him there.
This is why having an emergency fund is crucial. Mathematicians explain why with the Murphy's Law. Basically, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Instead of asking your parents for money again, or pulling out your credit card going further into debt, you'll have something to fall back on. A study found that as much as 56% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $1,000.
I think it's more than that, but it's a lot. Most people can't cover $1,000 unexpected expense. And even another stat that I think is, even more upsetting for me is that according to Bloomberg, 97% of people approaching retirement age in the United States aren't on track to have enough money to retire and actually support the life they want. So we're talking about like the financial baseline and then like adding some other things in to like enjoy your life, which means people are going to have to like keep working, or they're going to have to move in with their adult child, or they're going to have to, move across the country away from their family to a cheaper place, or maybe even another country. And so like it's a big problem, and fortunately a little financial education can go a long way, which is why it's so nice that we have YouTube videos like this.
Expense, and 22% don't have an emergency fund at all. I remember when I got into a car accident when I was 20 that cost me about $5,000 to fix. If I didn't have any emergency fund saved up, I might have needed to take out a loan, and paying back that loan with interest would have easily cost more than $7,000. Generally, you want your emergency fund to cover 6 months of your financial baseline. If your baseline is $3,000 a month, you need to save $18,000 for emergencies.
Okay, this is interesting. Like, I'm hearing him describe it a little bit differently than I've heard other people. Like Dave Ramsey will say, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And, if your income is really steady, then maybe that's more like 3 months. If it's a little bit more crazy, like you're an entrepreneur whose income changes all the time, like Vincent's and mine, then maybe more like 6 months. So that's always made sense to me. But I like how he's talking about it's not just your living expenses, like your financial baseline, because the truth of the matter is, if something happened and you needed to like cut back, you could. So you wouldn't necessarily need to like blow through your savings at the same rate that you would normally live when you just like have your income coming in and everything's fine, right? So I think that's interesting. I always calculate it on our basic expenses, so not necessarily travel, but very similar to what he did. I do like spreadsheets. So I have one that's like here's our kind of like personal cash flow plan template, and here's all our regular living expenses. And then I also put in like approximately how much we put in like groceries and restaurants and things like that. But I like the idea that, if we really needed to, we could cut back on some of those things like restaurants or amusement parks or concerts. At least I think we could cut back on that. My husband might disagree, but I like the specificity of it, and I think it's an interesting angle.
Emergencies don't include a wild night out, vacations, or pineapple pizza cravings. The money should only be used when all hell breaks loose. When your house floods, when you get stranded in the middle of nowhere and have no other options, basically when your life is FUBAR, that's when you use your emergency fund. Once you fill your emergency fund, immediately move to the next step. 77% of American adults are in debt, and this is something that we've just all accepted as the norm. Maybe we bought luxury clothes we didn't need to keep up a lifestyle we couldn't afford, or purchased new furniture when we could have used Craigslist. One of the worst things—
I will say, that is one thing that I tend to not spend money on is furniture over the course of my life. Because if you look at something that like costs a lot and just instantly depreciates in all value, it would be furniture. So up until recently, I never paid more than like $150 for a couch. And I got some like nice, like brand new couches, or even, and I feel a little like hesitant saying this because I know my husband would like be completely against this, but I got a bed for, what was it? I think like $40 or something. And it was in somebody's guest room, that maybe somebody had slept on it like a couple nights. So it wasn't like, like super used. But you compare that to like a new mattress, like, oh my God, right? But my husband doesn't have any problem going to a hotel, where like way more people sleep on that bed. So like, I don't have a problem with a lightly loose mattress. I know some other people would be like, oh my God, no, that's disgusting. Like never, right? But couches for sure. Couches are something that is pretty expensive to buy new, very easy to get used because it's a pain in the butt to move. So if somebody's moving out of the area, it's easier to just like let the couch go. Once I found a place where I wanted to stay for a long time, then I was willing to like now, I got my Barbie dream house. I don't have to be here for the rest of my life, but I definitely could, right? So it's like, okay, this is my dream home. This is my forever home. Now I'm comfortable spending a little bit of money on very specific things. Like I'm still looking at Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or Buy Nothing, which love Buy Nothing, by the way. So if you're not familiar with the Buy Nothing project, we'll link to that in the description. You can get so much good stuff and give stuff back to your community. I've given thousands of dollars worth of stuff and received a lot of great stuff too. But all that to say, now it's like, okay, I want this specific thing that's like this size, and if I'm going for a while without being able to find that, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just like buy it, So I'm willing to do that. But yeah, furniture, I think that's definitely an area where you can save a lot of money.
With debt is that it strangles your monthly income. When you're paying hundreds of dollars or more for your credit cards, your car loans, it quickly eats up the amounts you can save and invest. So forget about cutting back on avocado toast and iced coffee, because paying off your high interest debt will save you thousands in interest and fees.
Okay, so I do agree, that the payments eat into your cash flow, right? And that then makes it so that it's harder to save and invest, especially like go and buy assets. Because like, don't worry about the avocado toast or the iced coffee, because that is something, and where people are like, don't buy lattes. And it's like, yes, if you invest that money instead, it can make a big difference. But I think looking at what are the things that's going to make the biggest difference. And if you look at the top expenses for people, it's like taxes, housing, food, so I would look at those areas first and see where you can take money that might be going to the government or the landlord or the bank or, the restaurant, and like have that going to building assets instead. Those are the areas where I would look first.
If you have a credit card balance of $6,500 with an interest rate of 19.5%, and you decide to only pay the minimum payment of $130 per month, it's gonna take you 8 years. 8 years to pay it all off with an additional $6,000 in interest. So what's the best strategy to pay off your high interest debt early? There are 2 ways to do this. You could tackle the high interest rate loans first. Credit cards, payday loans, car loans, stuff with an interest rate of 10% or more. Pay off the highest interest rate first and then move on to the next loan. This is called the avalanche method, and mathematically speaking is the cheapest and most efficient way to pay off your loans. Another option is called the snowball method. Although it is less efficient, it takes a more psychological approach. Instead of focusing on the interest rates, you tackle the smallest loan amount first. You'll be able to pay these off quicker, which builds momentum and motivates you to keep going. For me,
So one of the things I like about paying off high interest rate debt is it's like you're getting an instant guaranteed return on investment. So if you have credit cards at 19.5% interest, like, are there other investments in your life where you feel like very confident that you could get more than 19.5%? Maybe not. And in that case, like just paying off the credit card, it's like instant guaranteed ROI because a penny saved is a penny earned, right? So I like that very much. So he talked about the two methods. That's totally true. I tend to be more inclined to the snowball method. The third method that he didn't talk about is looking at what's going to free up your cash flow the most, which I'm a little surprised he didn't talk about it, because he's talking about how the debt throttles your cash flow and makes it so that you have less money that you can invest, right? So if you take the balances divided by the minimum payments, you can see what's going to free up the most cash flow the fastest. And that would be a third way to look at like how to tackle the debt.
When I first got serious about personal finance and paying off my debt, I consolidated everything into a Google spreadsheet. It contained each debt, the amount I owed, and their interest rate. Every time I made a payment, I would open up the spreadsheet and manually adjust the remaining amount. Every other day, I would visualize paying off the debt until everything went to zero. And this motivated me to keep pushing. After you pay off your high interest debt,
I like that he created a system that was motivating and fun for him. I like the thermometer system. Like if you've seen those things where schools are raising money and it's like you could see how much they've raised on the thermometer. So let's say I want to pay off like a $10,000 thing. I'll divide up the thermometer accordingly and just like print it on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You could make a big one, I suppose, but I've just done the little ones. And then every $100 or $1,000, whatever's appropriate, then I'm like highlighting it as it gets paid off, and I can visually see us getting closer to the top of the thermometer. So that's a system that I really like. It's very visual and fun. Another one that I like the idea of, and I haven't done this, is, there's so many ways to do it, but creating some gamification and tracking and making it fun and motivating, that gets the behavioral part of personal finance, working on your side, and it can help you pay off the debt faster. So one idea I really like is having like paper chain links, and like every link is, $100 or $1,000 or whatever increment you feel is appropriate. And then as you pay it off, you break the chains. Isn't that fun? That's such a great like physical, like breaking free. So I love that. For him, the spreadsheet worked. That's great. So whether it's a thermometer or breaking chains or whatever it is for you, have fun with it.
You'll have a bit more wiggle room with your monthly income. But before you do anything, you need to prioritize the next step. When it comes to investing, most people think of flashing screens, day trading, and aggressive screaming. But apart from what you've seen on Wolf of Wall Street, investing doesn't need to be hard or overwhelming.
Oh, I completely agree. I see so many people just handing their money and their power over to somebody else because they're like, oh, this is going to be too complicated, or I don't have the time, or I don't know what I'm doing. And 98% of active money managers can't even beat the market net of fees. So the vast majority of the time, people are paying a premium for underperformance, and it makes me crazy. And it's like, this is one of those areas where a little bit of financial education goes a long way, and you can absolutely invest on your own or with a financial planner and have it be, you can set it up to be completely passive and super easy. And it's awesome. If you want to learn more about investment strategy, we do a deep dive at it on in my Financial Freedom 101 online 3-day event. So I will link in the description if you want to check that out. You can also go to financialfreedom101online.com.
Basics are easy, and once you're familiar with them, you could make millions in your lifetime. Einstein once said, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." Compound interest is the reason that you should have started investing yesterday. Over time, the stock market returns about 10% a year, meaning your money will essentially double every 10 years without you needing to do anything. If you invest $6,000 each year from 25 to 65 years old with an annual return of 10%, you'll end up with a total of over $2.7 million. If you choose not to invest and instead you just keep that money under your mattress, you're gonna end up with a total of $240,000. That difference is huge, and that can easily change your.
So this is one of those examples. So I'm talking about how your money can grow much harder, or your money can work much harder for you than you can work for it. So like that's $240,000 that you might have invested over that time. That's the part you put in, that's you working for money, but it grew to like 2.7 million. That's your money working for you. And that's why, yes, it makes sense to have your money on your team, delegate it, pay some attention, or delegate to it, pay some attention to it. So I'm totally on board with this part.
Can easily change your life. You can get my free investing starter kit to learn the basics of stock investing to easily and confidently start investing today. Link below. The problem is, which investing account should you invest with first? Taxable brokerage, 401k, IRA, HSA, knowing which to prioritize will maximize your returns and minimize your taxes. For most people, you should first put money into your 401k account, a workplace retirement plan that offers matching contributions, essentially free money. If your 401k plan offers this match, contribute enough to meet the matching amount. When it comes to your 401k, not only can you get free money, you can also lower your taxable income. If you earn $90,000 a year and your employer matches up to 3% of your salary, that means they'll give you $2,700 of free money. If you contribute 10% of your $90K income to your 401k plan, when tax season comes, you'll only pay taxes on $80,000 instead of your $90K salary.
I agree with him on the match thing. So I have like Penelope's hierarchy of investment accounts, and I would agree to prioritize anything with a match up to the match because that's an instant 100% ROI. That's just for the first year, right? But it's worth it because you just like immediately doubled your money without having to do anything. Whoop, whoop. And then in the United States specifically, I would also prioritize anything Roth over anything traditional in general. Again, it can depend on your situation. So if you have a Roth 401k with a match, that would be the best. And then next would be like a traditional 401k with a match. So again, prioritizing matches and prioritizing Roth is the way I would go. And if you're looking for the equivalent in Canada, it would be a TFSA. In the UK, it would be an ISA that invests in stocks and shares. It sounds like he's specifically talking about the US. But in general, pretty much wherever you are in the world, it's worth looking at taking advantage of some of these tax-sheltered retirement accounts because your money can grow tax-free. And in some cases, like with the Roth or the TFSA, you can take money out tax-free, which is awesome. It's like the easiest, most passive way to become a tax-free millionaire. So I say, go for it.
After you max out your employer match with your 401k, contribute to a Roth IRA account. Unlike the 401k, where contributions are pre-tax, with a Roth IRA, contributions are post-tax, which means you'll first pay taxes on your $90,000 salary before you can add it to your Roth IRA. The advantage of a Roth IRA is that you don't have to pay taxes on any of the earnings in this account, and you can withdraw your contributions at any time. So even though you're contributing money into a retirement account, you can withdraw money from the principal whenever you want. After taking advantage of your retirement accounts, it's time to invest with a regular taxable brokerage. Unlike the 401k and Roth IRA, there aren't any obvious tax advantages, but it is one of the next best places to invest your excess money.
Well, there's no obvious tax advantages in terms of it's not tax sheltered growth. However, once you start withdrawing the money, you can strategically withdraw it from the different accounts to minimize your taxes and sometimes even get it as low as zero. So I agree with him that I think having some in an individual brokerage account is good. And I also would put it further down in Penelope's hierarchy of investment accounts. So yeah, I think it's interesting that he's like put them out as different steps, because I think about it more as like investing as the step. But yeah, I'm tracking. It's good. I am not disagreeing with this.
your excess money. For me personally, I've been investing with Moomoo for years, and for a limited time, if you create an account with my link below and meet the deposit requirements, you can get up to 16 stocks for free. With all my investment.
Okay, I actually haven't heard of Moomoo, but I like how he's doing the calls to action. It's very subtle. It's not annoying. He's not spending like a whole minute or two on some like sponsorship thing. He's just like, here's what I do, link. So it's very like fluid, and I am appreciating it. I also think that some of these things where you can get free stocks, or you can get some money for like having an account for a certain amount of time, that can be a way to like boost or supercharge your investing, especially if you're early on in the journey and you feel like you don't have extra cash to invest. Sometimes getting like little perks like that can kind of help get you launched on your investing journey. So I like that.
With all my investment accounts, I primarily invest in low-cost mutual funds for the long term. When you invest for the long term, you're not checking your account every day, week, or month. You're putting your money in, you're making sure you have everything set, and then you're checking it maybe twice a year. But you're not stressing out every time the stock market's having a panic attack.
I do agree with that. I think when we're talking about like a passive income investment strategy, you want it to be something where you're just investing for the long term. You're not losing sleep over it. You're not getting like triggered by headlines every minute. Like that's just no way to live, right? It's stressful. It's not fun. So I agree in investing for the long term. I'm actually surprised that he invests in mutual funds and he hasn't even mentioned ETFs. So mutual funds and ETFs are similar in that you kind of like pool a whole bunch of investors' money together and then go and, buy things with it. Like you're buying tech stocks, or you're buying stocks that are in a certain index. So you're like pooling investors' money. And then as an individual investor, you like own this little piece of the fund. So that part operates the same, but the internal fees are different. Some of the things of the way they're taxed are different. And in general, ETFs are going to be lower cost. So that's something to consider as you're looking at your own investments.
Most people just can't stomach the ups and downs the market takes, and over the past year, things have been looking a bit dicey. Normally, this is when people make one of the worst financial mistakes. In finance, they call this timing the market. Basically, it's when the market isn't doing too hot, so you decide to stop investing or pull all your money out and wait on the sidelines to get back in the right time. There's two problems with this. First, you don't know if the stock market is going to go lower or higher because no one knows. Just like how economists have predicted 30 out of the last 3 market crashes. Second, even if you pull out at a really fantastic time when the stock market was really high and then it crashes, you need to be right a second time to put it back in at the right time. The best solution based on hard data and math is to simply invest a fixed amount every month consistently. Doesn't matter whether it's going up, doesn't matter if it's going down. Let's say you invest $200 into Apple stock.
So what he's talking about is dollar cost averaging, where you're just like putting the same amount in every month, regardless of what's going on. And that way, if the stock market's down, it's like, yay, it's on sale, and you buy more of it and you like scoop it all up. And if it's up, you're like, okay, I'll only buy a few. But like on average, that's going to increase your returns. So that strategy is absolutely legit for sure. Like if you do what he's talking about, and you're just like buying and holding these like large index funds, like an S&P 500 index tracking fund, for example, and you're just looking at historically, which that's all we have is historically. And obviously we never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe the entire financial system collapses, but based on the data we have, the longer you leave the money in the market, the less risk there is of actually losing money, and the more probability or chance there is that your money will grow. So I like that this is a very passive strategy. That's what I like most about it, actually. I do think there are instances where you could have a strategy where you are kind of like legging in or legging out of the market. I know that that's a term used more in options trading, legging in and out of trades. But you want to have it based on like very clear signals. And if you do that, some of the time it's going to beat the market, some of the time it's not. Historically, it will have outperformed, but it depends on the signals and how you like. Can you actually count on yourself to buy and sell when you're supposed to? Because it's always going to be uncomfortable. Like when you when you sell, it's going to feel bad. When you buy, it's going to feel bad. And if you can't like emotionally handle that, then it's better to just do what he's talking about and just buy and hold. Don't look at it. Get all the apps off your phone. Like, don't be checking the price all the time. That's just going to drive you crazy.
Every single month for 5 years. If you're investing a fixed amount of money each time you buy, you'll get more shares when the stock price is lower and fewer when the stock price is higher. Over time, this will minimize the cost per share you pay for your stock. So if you have $300 to invest and you're looking at a very volatile stock called Magic Lamp Company, in the first month it's $10 per share. In the second month it's $5. In the third month is $20. Here's where dollar cost averaging comes in. Say you want to invest $100 a month for 3 months. So at the end of 3 months, you would have bought 10 shares in the first month, 20 shares in the second month, and then 5 shares in the third month. So now you have 35 shares for $300 for an average price per share of $8.57. Your price per share isn't the cheapest at $5 per share, assuming you could tell the future and bought everything in the second month, but it's also not the most expensive at $20 per share if you bought everything in the third month. After you're invested.
So I like that. I like that he shows you an example. He shows you the numbers. It's like visual where you can see it right on the screen. I think that's a really helpful way to actually walk through and understand dollar cost averaging.
Move on to the next step. When it comes to life, time is the most valuable resource. It's the only thing we can't buy more of. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you have or saved if you don't actually have the time to enjoy your life. In economics, they call it opportunity cost. Basically, the time you spend doing something is time not spent on doing something else. On Sunday, you might spend 3 hours washing the floors, wiping the windows, throwing out the trash, but what if you spent those 3 hours working on a side hustle? If you can make $90 in 3 hours and you can—
Why enjoy your life when you could work more? I mean, okay, but like, I think that's the key, because we don't know how much time we have on this beautiful planet. We don't know how much time we have with the people that we love. I think you want to strike a balance between like really savoring your life and enjoying your life and planning for the future. So maybe a side hustle, yeah. Maybe fully lean into like enjoying when you're not working. I feel like there's like the hustle and the side hustle, and it's like, do I want my whole life to be all about hustling? People talk about like work hard and play hard. I'm like, I'm opting out. Okay, I'm opting out. That is like, to me, that's some kind of like Puritan work ethic, patriarchy BS. That's my experience of it, and this is based on just living life for 48 years and having busted my butt and sacrificed and lost everything and had to start again. I'm looking at like, okay, there's always going to be socioeconomic factors that are beyond your control. You never know, like, if you're going to get like hit by a car or what, And so I think it is important to have that balance of enjoying life now and planning for the future and understanding your numbers, like what he's talking about, and knowing like, what do you actually need to be financially free? What do you actually need to pay your bills? Like, that's very powerful. And I think that, in some cases, a side hustle is completely the right thing. As a mom with 2 young autistic kids, I will say I'm not really looking to hustle a whole lot more, but I did create a video on the top 10 least hustly side hustles that I think work well, especially if you're a mom with young children. So I'll link to that video if you want to check it out as well.
And hire someone to clean your house for $30, then your time might be better spent on the side hustle. Over time, you can use the difference to invest, grow your money, and buy even more time back to do more of the things you love. Write down tasks that you absolutely hate to do. Cleaning the toilet, mowing the lawn, or driving 40 minutes to get groceries. Write down how much time it takes you to do each task, how much money you could be making if instead of doing this task, you were just working on your side hustle. Then look into how much it costs to hire someone else to do the task. So putting all this together was helpful to see if it made more financial sense to hire someone to do something or to keep doing it myself.
Okay, I didn't totally see where he was going with that in the beginning, but I do think opportunity cost is huge. I think you want to really, really look at that, because a lot of times people step over dollars to pick up pennies. Like they think they're saving they think they're saving money when it is costing them so much money. Like not hiring a mentor if you're starting a business. Like you're like, oh, I don't want to spend the $1,000 a month or the $25,000. Like I get it. And yet people have like no problem spending 40 grand a year on a liberal arts degree that they then go and become a social worker and don't make a lot of money. So it's kind of weird. That's an aside, but I like what he's talking about. Like, are there opportunities where you could hire some things out that maybe you don't enjoy and make more money doing something else with that time? Or maybe make more money with part of the time and have fun with part of the time. So I completely agree with doing like an opportunity cost analysis on your time. I think that's super smart.
Most important step of all is this. I remember for a long time, I did everything manually, paying my bills, saving for a house, investing. The problem is this takes dedicated time and brain power every week. In psychology, they call it decision fatigue. Basically, when you make a lot of decisions during your day, the quality of each new decision decreases over time. In the morning, you might be able to make really great choices one after another, but later that evening, when you get closer to 10,000 decisions, you might make mistakes that you later regret. Buying a pair of AirPod Max, Mr. Magic Lamp, or this overpriced stapler.
What's the magic lamp thing? I've never seen a magic. Is that a thing? Like it looks like a Himalayan salt lamp with a little face on it. Like is that a thing? I don't know.
But what if I told you that you can easily automate your finances so you never need to think about it again? When it comes to setting up guideline automation, it's gonna save you so much time and headache in the long run. Nowadays, I don't have to think twice about whether I paid my bills, if I invested this week. I don't need to track anything because I know it's already done. Here's how to do it. First, make sure your paychecks are automatically deposited into your checking account. Then, with your bank, set up automatic transfers to move your paycheck into the first of two new accounts, your spending account and your savings account. Your spending account includes fixed monthly bills and essential expenses like groceries, gas, and pineapple pizza. By knowing how much you normally spend in a month, set spending targets for non-essentials like restaurants, movies, and Uniqlo. Then set up automatic transfers at the end of the month to move what's left over into your second account, savings. From here, the money in savings should flow into whichever step you're at. Saving for an emergency fund, paying off high interest debt, investing, or opportunity cost. And that leads me to something that you've got to start accepting. And it's that even if you're doing all these steps, sometimes...
Okay, let's pause there for a sec. So I will say, anytime you can automate your smart money decisions, that is a good thing. That is a smart money move. So like that decision fatigue thing that he's talking about, 100%. Anytime you're relying on your willpower, danger, because willpower is highly unreliable. And so I think setting up an automatic transfer is really smart. For example, setting up an automatic transfer into your investment account, and then it's just like any other bill, right? And so now it gets paid, and then you can even set up auto investing. So whether you do like ETFs, or actually I think it has to be mutual funds for auto investing. Maybe that's why he does it. But you can have it set up to where like with your 401k or IRA or brokerage account, it'll like the money will automatically go into the account and it'll automatically get invested. I call that putting yourself on prosperity cruise control. And studies have shown that when you create an auto transfer like that, you increase your savings rate by 81%. So that means 81% more wealth, 81% more passive income, probably even more of that because of the compounding effect of money. So totally automate your smart money decisions. Yes. I love that. Let's see where he goes next.
You still might not feel like you're not doing a good job financially. And that might be because you don't know these 14 subtle signs. Click here to find out if you're financially doing better than you think.
Wow. Okay. So love the segue. Love the segue into the next video. So I'll give him mad props. I love his YouTube game, and I love it. I love his advice. So that is super cool. I think that like my biggest issue with this video is it's called "Do This Every Time You Get Paid." Paycheck routine. And to me, it sounds more like these are like the financial milestones, like looking at your financial baseline, funding your emergency fund, putting money in. These do not sound like things you do every time you get paid. These sound like you do the first one and then you do the second one and then you do the third one. And so that's a little confusing. But overall, I love him. I love him. I'll like totally, I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna subscribe. Where's the subscribe? I'm gonna, oh, there you go, subscribe. So I'm now subscribed to his channel. I'll learn more about what he's up to, but I think like his editing is fantastic. He's very comfortable on camera. His ideas are good. His examples are good. His transitions are top notch. So yeah, he totally gets 2 thumbs up from me. I'll link to his channel in the description on this video if you want to check it out. So Vincent, if you're watching, there's some free promo for you. And if you'd like to connect, hit me up, because I love geeking out about personal finance with cool people. And based on this one video, I think you're pretty cool. So let me know how you like this. Was this helpful and interesting? Please tap the like button for the YouTube algorithm. If there's anything else you want me to react to, let me know. And in the meantime, happy saving and investing.